top hats and button shoes, erotic tintas, midnight cruise, whirling gay society in 1903. Sigmund Freud's Vienna's hype identifies the homotype, the intermediate sex, and heterodoxy. The gay wave moves across the sea. Hello there, Miss Liberty. Betty Boop is hot and hooches out in the cold. Greenwich Village, Bloomsbury, gays in high society. Autumn night, Chicago fights, Leopold and Loeb. Pride, gotta have pride. Better run too long to keep it inside. Pride, can't sit back and watch from the side. Pride is power and power is pride. It's time to celebrate all the colors of the rainbow. Get out into the streets, follow the tide.
Hi, I'm Brian McNaught, and this is Stonewall Portraits, Profiles, and Pride, an attempt to get a short oral history of some of the people in our lives, gay, straight, bisexual, transgender, who have made a difference in the gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender civil rights movement. Our guest tonight is Dermot Meagher, the first openly gay judge in the state of Massachusetts. More than 20 years before the nation waited for the decision of openly gay federal Judge Vaughn Walker about the constitutionality of Proposition 8, which barred gay people in California from marriage, Dermot Meagher made history by being appointed the first openly gay judge in Massachusetts. On May 3, 1989, he was sworn in by Governor Michael Dukakis as the judge of the Trial Court of Massachusetts. For 17 years, he sat in the legendary Boston Municipal Court, the oldest trial court in Massachusetts. Today, there are openly gay people serving on courts at every level, though the atmosphere is not completely welcoming. Current Republican candidate presidential candidate Tim Pawlenty, governor of Minnesota, thinks that pro-gay judges should be ousted and only conservative judges appointed to the bench. The story of how Dermot became a judge as an openly gay man in 1989, at a time when most everyone warned him to keep silent about his sexual orientation, is the great profile and pride that we're going to explore today. Dermot is an accomplished artist and the author of the new book, Judge Sentences, Tales from the Bench. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for
we've known each other for a long time.
Since your Kevin White days.
And I think even a little bit before Kevin White days. But so, Dermot, you say, I tried to research this and I couldn't find any openly gay judge before you. You say there were a couple.
There was a judge in Los Angeles whose name's escaping me right now, and a couple of judges in New York.
Okay, but so three. So
there may have been more.
But during the Bush administration, there were only 75. The second Bush, there were only 75 openly gay judges in the United States, according to one report. So very small numbers. In 1989, you became Massachusetts' first openly gay judge. Now,
which is not to say there weren't gay judges.
No, of course not. But first openly gay, and your friends told you to keep quiet about it. Your father was a distinguished judge in Massachusetts, and so I'm real interested in hearing about how did you, with your parents, talk about you being made judge as an openly gay person, which may not have been your father's dream, and why did you buck your friends who were telling you to keep it quiet? Tell me about that.
After I was appointed, when I was planning my swearing in, my father said, it was then in and out of lucidity, he said, you're spending a lot of money on this.
You're spending a lot of money? Yeah.
Because I had a big party.
Yeah.
I knew a lot of people, like 800 people. And I said, well, I'm probably not going to get married, Dad, which in those days was just a dream.
Completely out of the question.
And my brothers were in the room, my straight brothers, and they were on the floor.
Laughing. Yeah.
It wasn't in '89 the times had changed. It was in '85 that people said, don't talk about this. And the first time I applied, the committee that interviewed me members of that committee were telling friends of mine, why does he have to say this? Why does he have to say it? And
Did you say that in 85?
Oh yeah.
So one of the things that helped, I didn't know this, Dermot, when I researched this. It wasn't like you got a call out of the blue that said, "Hi, this is Mike Dukakis. I want to make you a judge." You had to apply
Oh
to
yeah.
be the judge.
Judges apply.
In Massachusetts.
Lawyers apply to be judges.
In other states, they can be elected to the position, but here in Massachusetts,
Thank God we're not elected.
yeah. So you apply and you are appointed by the governor or
The governor.
the governor, always the governor.
The governor's appointment with the consent of the governor's council, which is a council that goes back to colonial days,
All right.
which was a curb on the English governor. Its sole duty now is to approve judgeships,
Okay.
approve
So
or deny.
so if you had not been approved by the council, even though Governor Dukakis said he wanted you,
I wouldn't have the job.
you wouldn't have the job. They have the power, and are they appointed people too?
No, they're elected.
Okay, they're elected to the governor's council.
There's
Okay.
a gay man running down here, actually, right now, Tommy Hallahan.
To be on the governor's council. Are there any openly gay people on the governor's council in Massachusetts? Have there ever been?
Not that I know of.
Not that you know of. Okay, so, I mean, that's telling. In Massachusetts, of all places. Back up, if you would. Where were you born and how many kids and into this family where your dad was a
I was
judge?
born in Worcester in 1940. I'm the second of 6 children. I have 4 brothers and one sister. My sister is the youngest. One of my brothers is a lawyer. 2 of my brothers one's a retired professor of English, and other's a professor of Irish American history.
All right. Are you the only gay person in the family?
No,
All right. So you have a brother who's also gay or a sister?
yes.
All right. All right, so we'll move on.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And so were you the smartest kid in your family?
No,
No? All right.
no.
But you went to law school?
I went to Harvard College. I went to BC Law School. I went to,
You went to Harvard College?
yes.
And then you went to BC Law School?
Then I went to Harvard Law School.
And then you went to Harvard University Law School?
Yes.
You're a pretty smart guy.
No, I went to school a lot.
You went to school a lot.
Right.
All right. And Michael Dukakis, Governor Michael Dukakis, was one of your professors at...
That was later. That was at the Kennedy School.
Oh,
I
that's
later
when you went to the Kennedy School.
Which was also a part of Harvard University.
The Kennedy School was mid-career course.
Mid-career master's program.
You were already an attorney, and you decided that you wanted to take this course, and Michael Dukakis happened to be one of the professors.
He had already served one term. He was defeated in the primary, and a man named King had become governor. And he taught at the Kennedy School. And then he was reelected for 2 terms.
Okay, so tell me, you applied in 1985 to be a judge. Why? Why did you want to be a judge? At the time, you were investigating attorneys. Were you not? Part of your job was
Investigating and prosecuting lawyers. I was a lawyer investigating and prosecuting lawyers.
for
Like a DA.
right
For
malfeasance or corruption or whatever.
for whatever.
Right.
I was working for the Supreme Judicial Court, which is the highest court in Massachusetts. They created an organization called the Board of Bar Overseers. I was in the office of the Bar Council, COUNSEL, and we were like the Attorney General of the DAs, investigating lawyers.
Did that make you unpopular with other attorneys?
Some.
Were you out as a gay man at the time?
Yes. Yes, I was. Well, I don't know if I was when I started. I mean, what's out, you know? I mean, you're out to some people. You have to be out every day. I mean, I meet somebody on a bus.
You are. You come out, and you come out every day.
Yeah, well,
Even if you come out in the New York Times, you keep coming out.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So I was for about 5 years before I was appointed a judge. I was the lesbian and a gay member of the Boston Human Rights Commission.
Ah. As an openly gay person?
Yes.
Yeah. Before you got into law, or maybe while you were in school, you were a male model?
No, I was a model in.
Who happened to be male?
If I was a model, I was male.
Right.
In 1975, it was kind of a difficult time in my life, but I looked fabulous. So and I was out of a job, and I modeled.
For?
Well, I worked for an agency. But,
Okay, so it could be clothing or whatever?
Yeah, I ended up doing a lot of, as I got fatter, I ended up doing a lot of things like bankers and lawyers and
Okay.
doctors.
All right. I've seen pictures of you when you were a model. You're an extraordinarily handsome man.
Thank you.
So you got your degree. And your father was very pleased with all of this, where you went to school. Was Harvard and Boston College also places that he went?
No, he went to Harvard and Harvard.
Harvard and Harvard. Okay. So he's very proud of you. When did you come out to your folks?
I came out to my father in 1975
Okay.
or 6, and my mother shortly thereafter.
That's when I also came in 1976. And no, I came out in 1974. So was your dad?
Well,
what
you're
was-
older than I am.
Yeah, I don't think so. What was your dad's reaction?
Oh, his reaction was, you never had any willpower.
You never had any. And what does that mean?
Oh, he said it. I don't know what it meant.
Do you know what I got from, just because I think this is related? My father said to me that he thought all males were homosexual, had homosexual tendencies, which suggested to me that maybe he did, and he, quote, overcame
Well,
them.
the logical conclusion of what my father said would be that if everybody let themselves go, they'd be gay. So,
Right. So what I feel he was saying is that I have had those
no,
feelings.
what I feel he was saying was, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
And this will do.
All right.
You know.
So, but he was very proud of you when you actually were selected and named a judge who happened to be openly gay. I mean, there was a lot of publicity about you being an openly gay person.
I don't know what he felt. I mean, he was, I remember people were congratulating him at the reception after, and he would say, well, it's not me. What are you congratulating me for?
Was it important for you to have his acceptance at the time?
Well, I think I wanted it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think
How did your brothers and sisters react to it all?
Oh, they were proud of me. I think they thought it was great.
This is 1989. Did you get any threats in response? This is shortly after Anita Bryant, just to place it in people's minds. 1987 was Dade
No,
County.
the opposition was somebody from, I don't even know if they're still in, whatever they call themselves, American Family Council.
Right. They're still
some
around.
Some woman who had lived up the street from me as a kid, and a lawyer who I had investigated opposed me. Thought just it was morally reprehensible to appoint a gay man. He's since been disbarred, but it had nothing to do with me.
Was he the only person who made that point in terms of being morally reprehensible? Because that's still their position.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think
So it was not a torrent of negative publicity, columnists saying what's happening.
Oh, well, the Globe, had the openly gay man appointed by Dukakis, and the Herald had other things to say, similar things to say.
But the Herald has always tended. The Boston Herald had tended to be more sensationalistic. They weren't. Did they take it?
The Globe was kind of sensational.
Oh, they were too.
Well, openly gay. I mean, they could have just said, whatever.
Right. But it was a historic moment.
Yeah.
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 So take us through the process, though. 1985, you applied for it.
Well, you have to apply to a committee, kind of blue ribbon committees. Each governor since the late 60s has appointed a blue ribbon committee. They vary somewhat. And you're interviewed by the committee, probably 18 people. The committee in 1985 was very, they were just nervous. They didn't know what to make of this. I mean, I'm sure they thought they were liberals, but they hadn't been that liberal, if you know what I mean. And they didn't want to hear about it. And one of them was, one woman on the committee was insulting, and then a man just couldn't believe that. He said, well, he was an assistant attorney general. He's still around. He's kind of a well-known trial lawyer. He said, well, if you were to be appointed, you would be the first, he couldn't say the word, of your kind. What would you do when someone else of your kind appeared before? And I said, I'd do nothing. any different unless I knew the person. And so it wouldn't be just if I were black, I wouldn't do anything.
They would
different.
never ask a black or a Jew.
Or if I were Jewish, and
he was Jewish.
he was Jewish.
Yeah.
Well, needless to say, I didn't get the job. I didn't get out.
You didn't get. You didn't get. Okay, so then you went away. Did you expect you were going to reapply? Did you get any encouragement to reapply?
No, but no, I don't know who gets encouragement to apply. But I applied again.
Didn't you, in your book, you talked about Tommy Vallely, who was a state rep at the time?
Tommy had encouraged me to apply in the first place.
Okay.
Yeah.
And to apply as an openly gay person?
Oh yeah, Tom.
Uh-huh.
You know, I don't know if you knew him, but I suspect you did. He had no problem with it. Yeah, big deal. You know.
But there were people who said, don't say that. You, at the time, you were already out as somebody who was in recovery from addiction, right?
Yes.
And so that was a big deal. Some people thought that was a big thing to be saying about yourself as an attorney who was applying for a judgeship. You add on to this the next layer of somebody who was openly gay, when many of them, Michael Dukakis, when he talked to you about it, did he have gay people in his circle of friends, or did he know gay people?
I know he knew gay people, yes.
And was it an uncomfortable thing for him, or was he?
I can't speak for him, but I wouldn't presume to speak for him.
All right. So at the time, what I'm trying to help people understand who are listening, so it was different than if you applied to be
It was
a
different
judge
from
today.
1985 to 1989. I think AIDS and AIDS changed people's opinions about gay people or attitudes towards gay people. And what happened between 85 and 89, it was more like maybe 84 and 88. I was appointed in 89. Second interview was in 88. And was that people, attitudes changed and softened.
Because of AIDS, I think it was probably also because of Anita Bryant. I think she forced people to think about the issue and take a side.
Well, she was probably so outrageous.
She was so outrageous.
That could be.
Yeah. So, but still, Dermot, 1988, which you say when your second interview was, that's still very different than if you applied today. It wouldn't even be a question, would it, today, as somebody applying to be a gay judge?
No, and it wasn't a question then. I mean, there was no question, are you gay?
Right.
And there was a question, the Eagleton question.
Named after?
Eagleton, who was from
Thomas
Minnesota,
Eagleton, right.
Who had been in a mental hospital and hadn't told Hubert Humphrey?
I forget who was the presidential candidate at
hadn't
the time.
Told the candidate or the party that was in his history,
Mm-hmm.
and then it came out. So there was a question to kind of cover that. Is there anything in your background which would reflect adversely on the governor, or which others would unfairly think to do so? In 1985, I wrote no, but I'm a gay man, and I am aware that some people will not be happy about that, or some other more formal euphemism. In 1988, for the same application to the same question, I think I just said no. When I had talked to the governor about that question, actually I think before I was interviewed the first time, he said, well, I'm upset that people think I would be embarrassed by that. Well, I can't help you with that. But, that's the question.
So he didn't like the question.
Well, he didn't. I don't think he even knew the question was there. The question had been there. It's a bit enormous application with 50-odd questions. And he may not have even known the question was there. But he didn't like what it seemed to say about him. So
Did you?
I guess my response probably should have been, well, then do something.
Right,
about
change the question, or at least
no.
announce that it's not an issue.
Exactly, because he hadn't done very much for gay people at that point.
You were a trial judge.
Yes.
And that's what your book is about,
Yes.
is some of the stories that you experienced from the bench. And again, the name of the book is Trial Sentences, A View from the Bench? No. What is it? Come on.
Are you asking a question?
Yes, I am. What is
I'm
the
going to
name?
get like a judge now. Are you asking a
Yes,
question?
yes.
It's called Judge Sentences, Tales from the Bench.
Judge Sentences, Tales from the Bench. Were there ever cases that involved gay people?
Oh, yes.
And how did your experience as a gay man? Because I read that you wrote that a judge has to take in consideration common sense in his life experiences, right? So I did.
As a decision maker, yes.
As a decision maker.
As do jurors, yes.
Right. So how did that impact? Because you're only allowed to judge on, you said, what is presented in court, nothing that you knew beforehand. How did that influence? Did that make you a more fair judge?
Well,
a fair judge?
I didn't recuse myself when gay case people came in front of me.
Right.
And I didn't feel any need to. But there were cases that involved gay people, some of them committing or alleged to have committed crimes that other people commit. There were some cases of that were specifically gay. We still had, for the beginning of my career as a judge, we had the sodomy laws were still on the book. I don't remember any sodomy cases coming, but there were cases of open and gross lewdness, indecent exposure, that kind of thing.
So while you were on the bench as an openly gay trial judge, the state of Massachusetts had laws that said it was illegal for same-sex people to be engaging in...
Most states did. In sex.
In sex. So what you did sexually never came up in terms of your fitness to be a judge? If it was what you were doing was against the law?
Actually, one of the governor's councilors, when I got through the governor's council, said, he says he's homosexual. Homosexuality means sodomy. Sodomy's against the law. I don't know that homosexuality necessarily means sodomy in the strict definition of sodomy.
Right.
And but that was his objection.
And what was the response?
There was none.
Nobody responded to it. It just sort of floated out there.
He voted against me, and
well, 8-1 was it? Did you say?
Yes, it was 8-1.
8-1, yeah. And your dad actually, at your request, you had to lobby. You didn't just apply, fill out an application, and appear before this council. You had to lobby.
No, you apply. You go before the committee. You lobby the committee as well.
You lobby them.
Well, you have people who know you, who might know them. Talk to them and say, he's a good guy, blah blah blah, or he's a smart guy.
So you actually campaign for a position that you've applied for.
Yes.
You're not running for office, but you are campaigning.
Yes.
And your dad got involved for you at your request.
After I got through the committee, after the governor nominated me, and when I had to go to the governor's council.
Yeah, and he made a call which, from my perspective in reading your book, or parts of it, made a difference in one of the votes?
That which I sent you is not in my book.
Oh, it's not? Oh, it should be. It's very good. But regardless, your dad, so that you sent me a piece on your becoming a gay judge, but your dad was involved in that.
Right.
Okay. When you became a gay judge, and you were one of only a handful in the country, the first in Massachusetts, did you hear from people outside of the United States outside of Massachusetts, asking you for counsel, writing you, because your name was in the paper, and once your name is in the paper as a gay person, then you become a role model, right? Good or bad.
Did I hear from people?
Did you hear from kids who said, I saw your name, or did you hear from attorneys who say, I'm gay, should I come out?
No, but I mean, attorneys appeared in front of me who were gay, and I remember one attorney came to see me after I was appointed. He had been appointed counsel. He had been like the Massachusetts system is private lawyers can be appointed to represent defendants who can't afford to pay.
Right.
And he had been appointed to represent someone who was an alleged gay basher.
Oh.
And he came to me because he was very troubled. He said, well, I don't know what he said, but he didn't like being in that position. He thought, well, if I lose the case, then my client's going to find out I'm gay, and I'm going to think I threw the case because I'm gay. And if I win the case, I don't know if I really think I should win it. And he wanted to withdraw, and I think I let him withdraw. Someone else was appointed.
How many gay judges are there now, openly gay judges in Massachusetts?
There are probably about 20. Most of them are women.
Do you have a group? Is there a group that
There is
gets
a group.
together?
There's a group, there's no formal organization, but there's a group that gets together about twice a year. Actually, they started after I retired.
And you did retire about 6 years ago, and your focus 4 years ago, and your focus has been a lot on your art. You're an artist.
My focus has been on being retired.
On being retired. Okay, but that is included doing.
Yeah, I do
art.
projects.
Okay. Do you feel that being selected, named as the state's first openly gay judge is the thing that you are most proud of in your life?
No, it's one of them. I mean, I'm proud of that, but I've done other things professionally that I'm more proud of.
Do you feel a sense of satisfaction about your place in our history?
I've never thought of it that way, but I suppose I do, yes.
Good. Well, I do, and that's why we asked you to be on the program. And what I'm hoping is that not just the people who are watching here, but the folks who watch this as a oral history of the Stonewall Museum for many years to come will say, wow, here's a guy who was smart and earned what he got, but in 1985 had the courage to say, this is who I am. And that's providing, for me, an incredible modeling. So.
Well, I wanted to be a judge, but I just couldn't be a judge if I were in the closet.
Right.
It would be just too, I didn't want to have to spend the rest of my career worrying about that coming out.
So you role modeled for people that if you really want to be good at what you're going to do, you can't spend your life worrying about.
I never thought of myself as a role model. I did what I felt I ought to do. And if that's a role model to people, that's great. But I never sought to be a role model.
Well, you are.
Well, thank you.
Brian McNaught, Dermot Meagher, thank you so much for joining us on Stonewall Portraits, Profiles, and Pride.
Too long to keep it inside. Pride, can't sit back and watch from the side.